Hello everyone, this today will be my first video which will feature my voice as well, and this video will feature my first map of the RPG Maker game I'm working on. It's a video game that will be, actually it's worked upon in RPG Maker MV. The video game is about exploring consciousness by the main character, the protagonist, which is shown here. The protagonist's name is Zandara, and well, it's not actually a she's part of consciousness, and her purpose is to understand life and to experience life. And the point is that a part of this game, like 1% of this game, will take part on this huge map I've been working on for quite a long time. This map will take part in what you can see here, Shizuoka Geijutsu Bunka Daigaku, or the Shizuoka University of Art and Culture from Hamamatsu, Japan. Now, because I find it very hard to introduce Japanese like architecture in RPG Maker without a strenuous effort, I prefer creating my own university and its own interiors based on my pure imagination. So this will be the main soundtrack that will be heard. There will be furthermore as the map will be developed. The map is 250 times 250, so it's quite a large one. It required 3 weeks to reach this progress. The purpose of the protagonist is to experience consciousness, to experience actually life, to learn and experience. These two are the only requirements of life as is, and the game will consist of several chapters that the player will go through and will have to finish. The video game I'm working on will have the mechanics of a visual novel more than an RPG by itself. This part will specifically be a visual novel. There will be parts that will present RPG ideas. In order to reach this map, the protagonist lets herself defeated by an enemy who has sworn to do everything possible to kill her, and the player will have 4 ways in which the protagonist can be defeated, and only one only of those ways will lead to this particular set of maps. The others will lead to other events which will unfold based on the player's choice. So these maps, there is another map as big as this one, and there will be another large one, actually 2 or 3, regarding this area only. These maps actually are only accessible if the player makes that one and only choice. The video game has been created in RPG Maker MV, as everyone can see. The video cameras here are cyclic events. This map has around 500 cyclic events that show similar mechanics. This map has around 900 events, some of them triggered, some of them parallel, and they compose what one can see in here. So basically this map is represented by the university itself, only the ground floor for the moment, and the surrounding garden. The university itself is, well, the ground floor is represented by a few classes that look like this. As well as the ability to close the doors after yourself, because this would be polite. This is a part called the Maruchimedia Rabu, or the Multimedia Lab. I haven't created the doors yet because there's still something that I have to create about it. Now other classes will be like this one, for example. Some will be larger, some will be smaller. I'm not a fan of copy-paste. I'm not interested in creating multiple classes, well, classes that look the same. This part here is a part that I personally like. These are the bathrooms, and as you can see, they are created out of events. Here one can see that there's literally nothing, but if one interacts with it and chooses to enter, everything is made of events. There's also events for the bathrooms, but they're a bit lengthy, so I'm not gonna present them now. As of many objects, I chose to present them as being in the wall rather than outside the wall, mainly because it gives the player somewhat more space. I prefer this option, even if it may not be visually pleasing for many folks. I just prefer doing this. The men's bathroom is exactly the same, with the main difference that the player will be teleported diagonally, because here there are the events that allows one to enter here, and again they look the same. When one goes far away from the door, it closes itself automatically, because why not? Here I decided to make a cheeky part. Now this part here I have to work on it because this is part of the roof, so basically you can go underneath these neons and such, and this part does not allow you to go through like one can do in here, mainly because this part in here, and I think I know exactly what that is, these parts here make it look very pleasing, but they allow the player to actually move where they shouldn't. I will be taking care of this later on. This is another class. Actually, this is the first class that I have created, considering this map's history. Now this one here is the Shodo, the calligraphy class. These kanji were were done by me in Sakan. It is a part of RPG Maker MV, which allows you to customize own tile sets. It is in a way similar to Paint, but very annoying at the beginning. It is truly annoying. And here on the blackboard, I have written the name of the teacher that will be leading these classes. I don't know whether the player will be able to attend this class for the moment. Here the two kanji from here are actually the ones who compose this one. This one is read sho, and it means to write. This one is read hirabi here, and fudezukuri, as of Obenkyo, a site which I use to learn kanji from time to time. When these two kanji are placed one over the other, this small line here disappears in here, as you can see. So since this teacher will be the teacher of calligraphy, I thought, why not give her a name that's composed of the kanji that creates sho, and namely Hirabi Fudezukuri. That's the name of the teacher. And we're gonna close the doors because that's how it's polite. These stairs here lead to this dark area because this place will lead to the upper floor, which I haven't created yet. This game, well, I have started creating my first video game based on the fact that I read that there are so many people who create their own video game and they work on it alone. Say, for example, Cuphead and many other such games, Undertale, and one of, not necessarily my favorites, but a video game that I like, which is Yandere Simulator. It's a game that I feel, well, there's a lot about it to talk on a spiritual level, not on a purely physical level, but most probably in another video. And this part of my game will have a few similarities, but it's not based on that game, it's based on reality and on realism. Following the custom of foreign countries, I also added clubs in this university, mainly because I've seen that in animes there is the idea of clubs that appear, an idea which is inexistent in my country. You won't be finding clubs in our schools, probably in some universities, but I truly doubt that. And here we have Shokubutsu, or the Botanical Club. The animation for the entrance will be checked on. These are cyclic events that I have created. I've seen that in Japanese culture the idea of falling leaves, cherry tree leaves, is something quite prevalent, is something quite often met even in anime, so I prefer making a few animations. These are cyclic events that, well, behave. There's around a few hundred of them, and they don't do anything special, like they just repeat, and they don't consume much of a resource. Now the point is, here the university's wall is interrupted because at this ground floor the botanical garden allows a swift exit directly to the garden that has this beautiful lake in the middle. Yes, I know it should have been rounder or so, but I prefer it being square and having these bridges where the player can move on, and these cherry trees that surround most of this lake. This was the first cherry tree animation that I made, followed by this one and a much larger one, which, well, it looks kind of goofy, but I will show it later on. This is the second part of the Botanical Club, because this is the other part of the university. Upwards is an amphitheater, which has no entrance for the moment because I'm still working on the map, it's not fully completed. Here there's the entrance into the Budo Club, or the martial arts club, that only for the moment only has a, let's say, sprawling arena, a fighting area, and, well, these are not implemented yet, the places where you will be changing your clothes. Now if we get back to the first part of the university and leave the Shokubutsu Botanical Garden, we will reach the theater club, which is, this one is only a part of it. This fire was animated in Sakan again. It's a bit goofy, but I like it. The stairs lead to the upper floor, where there will be another such room, but the upper floor isn't worked at yet, since I also have to create like 90% of the events of this map still have to be created. Here we have the infirmary word written in kanji over here. It also has a upper floor, probably two more upper floors, and it will take a while until, well, it will take a while. These parts haven't yet been set as unpassable, so don't ask me why one can go through them. This is the bathroom of the infirmary ward. Since I am interested in exploring the idea of consciousness, my game will also include the idea of murder, and no, it was not inspired from Yandere Simulator. In these particular maps, the player will choose one of the 5 characters, and 3 of them are capable of killing when the time comes and if they so choose. However, not every character will be killable, because I'm not interested in spending so much time on making each of the characters actually killable. The purpose of the game is not to kill characters, but to experience life. So, in order to reach this set of maps, since it's this one, a 250 x 250 map with a 256 x 256 map and other maps that will be created, the protagonist will let herself be defeated by someone who has sworn to kill her in any way possible, and her kin, and this way the player will get to a choice. The choice will consist of 4 ways through which the protagonist will experience life and be later on defeated. And based on that choice, the player will end up in certain maps. And this is only one of the choices, so if you don't pick up this choice, the player will not reach this area. Here in the middle, I have decided to create a 7D hologram of a cherry tree with falling leaves, which was envisaged, designed and mostly installed by Miyumi, one of the characters, with the aid of her high-tech gears. Now, regarding each of the characters, all their quotes and their names included will be written with one and a single color, except several colors will be used to present some of their emotions and some of their accents. So there will be other colors, but mainly their quotes will have one single color. So everything that will regard Miyumi will be written with this particular color. Ever since, this hologram here remains a pain soother for any student who ends up in the infirmary ward, or Hokenshitsu actually, of the university. It is a proud creation of Miyumi, standing as a testimony of her technological genius. Ever since her arrival at the university, Miyumi was granted the high-tech privilege and was even named by many Gijutsu no Megami, or namely the goddess of technology, because she is very witty in what technology is concerned, and she is highly robotic in a way, in her way of behaving, and it's more of a natural, it's not a mask, it's not a social mask, it's more or less a natural specific. The same event is triggered here, only if the player is facing up. Now back on the corridor, there's the janitor that I took a while to create. It lasted long because there are 5 characters that the player has to work with, and only one of the characters can be chosen, and I have to create the events with different quotes based on the character that the player will choose. So if an event can be played by each of the 5 characters, I have to create 5 instances of that event, which takes significantly longer. So in this case, the trickiness of this event was that, as one can see, there's a chair in this room. These cabinets here can be looked on, this one here, here, here and here, but because they are very tall, the character cannot actually the player cannot actually see the contents up here unless they get up on a chair, right? And the point is that, well, in order to do so, yes, there is a small problem here. There's an event, there's an action button event that leads to a touch event, which is still tricky. If I use it as action button leading to an action button, it's again tricky, so I have to go around this. I will not pick search cabinet contents because there's a whole bunch of text that one has to go through. And this chair can be moved from here, and if the player chooses to pick it up, like pick it up, take the chair, the player can place it here, here or here, and also the movement of the player will be slowed. And the chair can be placed here, and the trickiness of the event was to make sure that no instances of this chair can be placed in any other possible part. If one chooses to turn off the lights, they will go again through that same event with turning on the lights. If they choose who cares, this part will no longer be available. This class was not made yet. I mean, it is fully built, but the access to it was not granted. Not all classes will be accessible because it doesn't serve the player any good. Now here is the science club, The science club cannot be accessed because it is part of what I called um, prestige clubs. These clubs can only be accessed if the player chooses to enter the club, and one of the 5 characters isn't part of any club, so it's up to the player to choose which club to integrate that character into. The player can enter any club and any number of clubs for the moment, because I don't see fit to add a limitation. However, as you can see, the science club cannot be entered because the player is not part of the science club. Miyumi is the only one who can enter because she's not part of the science club, but she has high-tech privilege. Here we have the English class, where actually here I wrote Ego, which means English language. Here the class is, well, made out of 2 parts. The beginner part, who will learn English, and this part will be for the more advanced, who will learn more about literature and other such aspects. Here's the end. I will probably add something around here as well. Here we have another class. Which, well, generally the classes will look similarly. They will be larger or smaller. And now we have to go all the way around because there's no way through there to get to the initial part. And this one is the first class that I have created in the history of this map. It is much larger indeed, and I became a bit lazy with creating multiple instances of it, but in the end they all have to serve a certain purpose. Some will be larger, some will be smaller. Now if we choose to move outside, the song is changed. Now the idea of clubs I also added in here. This is another part of the science club. It's actually a different science club, which is more or less a branch of the science club. No interior was created for this one and for the other one. This one is the occult club, although I don't know if I should call it occult club. It's more like a magic oriented club or something like this. Again, no interior was created for this one as well. It will have an exit in this part of the school that will lead to some underground part of the school. The map will be filled with a few of these, which will allow the player to save the game from time to time. And actually, if I don't forget, here these assets will be used to pinpoint the player's location. I will create a few instances of the map, a few pictures that I will introduce in the game, and based on which of these platforms is triggered, a picture of the whole map will appear with an X saying you are here, or you are here, or you are wherever the player will trigger this event from. Here we have a minor park where NPCs will be chilling around tables. Here's some oka trees, some cherry trees with falling leaves. Again, these are parallel events that I created in Sakan. Took me quite a while indeed, but I'm pretty much in love with the result. Here's something that I've seen in anime generally, landscapes with falling petals. They're quite interesting to see in animes. Even in reality they'd be nice. This is the entrance in the university with the main roads. This part serves no purpose other than it will be the place where the player will get to join the university for the starting courses. This is the theater club. It's actually a remote part of the theater club where they will rehearse from time to time. It's a more secluded part where they can actually rehearse and have a minor audience. And if we move rightwards within the garden, we will find an area. This area here is a stage. It's a musical stage. Now this musical stage is the place where actually it's on top of the roof of a dormitory, which in theory, like in my pure fantasy, this dorm would be only peculiar to foreign students. But I kind of prefer to give up that point. It's one of the dormitories. Initially it was for foreign students only, but now it's just a dormitory. For the moment this part is not accessible. This is the backstage, and here there will be some concerts. For the moment I don't have any plans to create any such concerts. And here will be the, well, you know, clothes changing areas for both males and females. The part here is inaccessible for the moment because, well, for the moment it doesn't serve any purpose. Since this university is inspired from Shizuoka University of Art and Culture, I saw it on Google Maps and I was deeply impressed by its structure, and actually saw that it has a minor structure with the water surrounding it, so I said, why not? Why shouldn't I do something similar? Although I made it far larger and more fantasy-like. This part here is represented by a man-made rectangular, let's call it river, flowing river, that moves around this part of the garden. And starting from here onwards, with these goofy looking trees, this is called the lovebirds areas, with lots of cherry trees whose petals keep falling and cuddling every lovebird group that comes. There will be NPCs here that will lie and chill by the base of this, not all the trees, but some of them. There will be a timer with a plugin, but that's a later on project. There will be NPCs every here and there that, well, they will imitate loving birds, you know, staying under cherry trees and discussing certain things. Then there's here a small, it's not labyrinthine, it's somewhat labyrinthine garden that will have something to do with this particular recycle bin, but there's nothing to show for the moment. The events are made, but not for the moment. They will be not shown for the moment as progress goes on. This part here had to be given a lot of things because it looked very simple, so I had to add all kinds of and all sorts of stuff. It's a 250 x 250 map, but only 3/4 of it are occupied by this garden and university. The others will be parts that will be accessible through different rooms. These benches will be given events and they will be triggerable. Some of them, not all of them. This is the secondary entrance to the science club. Here we have the main heating building, which has no event for it yet, but regarding these pipes and the interior, as well as an event that will imply the player finding a ladder, placing it somewhere around here and climbing on the roof to plant a well, handmade mini bomb to blow up the roof and infiltrate the building. There will be a few events around here that will, well, be part of the game. I'm still thinking whether to introduce them or not. Here there's just grass and part of the garden. Here I decided to make a jogging. I'm interested in creating a sports club which will be featured somewhere different on this map, and it will be accessible through a certain part. I'm not sure entirely. This is the jogging area where the NPCs, some of the NPCs regarding the sports club will get to run. There will be a pool at a certain level which will be peculiar to the sports club again. I also came with a nice idea regarding the handcrafting club. Here there's a club where players can get to do a lot. Actually, players won't do anything here probably. For the moment I'm not willing to make this something real. This is only part of fluff. And here's a small building where they keep their wares. Probably the player will have to infiltrate this building to steal some stuff. As I said, the characters have each a certain color that regards their name, and they will be respected thoroughly. And this here is another part of the botanical club that is for the moment inaccessible to the player. Probably only the leader of the botanical club can access it. As one can read here, it's Shokubutsu Kurabu. Since we've been around and actually seen most of it, let's move to the other part, because we also have another part. If we move past the Lovebirds alley, there's another part of the universe in here, which is the main dorm here, as written here. These stairs will be used to go to the upper floors as well as leave. The design idea came from what I've seen, I think, in a Korean dormitory in a documentary, with the idea with beds all situated in one same room. And this same room also, well, in another room they have computer games and, well, computers for personal usage, as well as different utilities which will be interactable in time. There's also a bathroom, and there's also the shower room. They're all each interactable, but I'm not going to show them because there's really no purpose. Now, since I love doing something that I call referencing, if there is something that impresses me, rarely there's something that truly impresses me, I prefer referencing it in my works. So I've created a literature club in my school, and, well, the students of the club prefer to call it Doki Doki, after the name of a famous visual novel called Doki Doki Literature Club. The students in this map, being students, many of them will be fans of video games, and 3 titles will be referenced, will be spoken of from time to time, namely Shadowverse, the Andre Simulator, and of course Doki Doki Literature Club. Now, how the things stand? Well, there will be only references. Nothing directly copied from them or nothing taken from them, just generally a few events or character references. There's also a part that will be spoken of. The theater club decided, before the player can join these maps, it's part of the story of the game, decided to take part in a national contest, the National Theatric contest, and one of the characters actually comes with an ingenious idea to give up the typical historical presentation of, well, historic persons, characters, important figures in Japan's history, like Miyamoto Musashi, for example. That character came with a wacky idea. How about we create a theater play based on a visual game? According to the statistics, in time, the number of people in the audiences of that national theater event seem to grow actually more and more towards in favor of the youngsters. More and more younger and younger people were attending the plays, so the character decided that they should create a play based on some video games because they will gain a lot of love from the audiences. And the theater club actually wins with first place in the national theater event with two plays, one representing a duel in between two players representing Shadowverse, and another one is a, well, phantasmagorical representation of Yandere Simulator with the students disguised as a few of the characters. I was thinking of putting the such into play, but I'm not interested in being called as fraudulent. I don't know if I should be asking for the permission of the developer, so I just prefer referencing the event. Miyumi, for example, takes the role of Nemesis, but in order to not use her name, she will be called Shukuteki instead, which is the Japanese word for Nemesis. And well, in the game, the event is said, well, it took part without asking the official developer, but it seemed that no one actually called the team to say, hey, you know, you've done something illegal. So they got to preserve their first prize. And that kind of sums up the tour of the university almost entirely. Here we have the martial arts club as well as the second part of the botanical club with the amphitheater above that is inaccessible for the moment. The speed of the player is 4, although it may give someone the impression that it's slow. It kind of feels way too fast for me. I was thinking of reducing the speed to 3, but the point is the map is kind of large, so if I reduce it to 3 it will probably be quite challenging for the player, so I will have the player have an item in their inventory that allows them to change their stance, either to normal walking, which will be half the speed, or to simply running, which will be this speed. Because I don't like the idea of, you know, paths in any map. In any map, I don't like the idea of paths having, being 1 square wide. I prefer having really large paths because this is how they look realistic. I've seen someone on the internet, on YouTube, making videos about how they receive maps from other players and offer them professional advice about how to improve them. I wouldn't mind meeting that guy and giving him some of my maps to gain some insight on what I should improve with my maps. It's not that I don't have a lot of ideas, I'm very abundant in the ideas, but I don't mind others' ideas as well. For example, this place here is very, it kind of misses a lot of stuff, but basically 90% of the visual of the map is completed. I only have created like 5% of the total events, which brings to mind the fact that I have to create a lot of events and that there will be a lot of texts because the game, especially in this part, will be more of a visual novel rather than an RPG. So I have a lot of texts to create, and these texts will be a bit problematic because I have to create them for each of the playable characters. Now the playable characters are 5. They will be Dora. This character is the only one who will look both like this without the ears, and her face will be rounder, and like this. It's a condition: if she takes a shower, her hair will look like this, no longer like this. So, and she also will change her clothing. The other characters can also take showers, but they will remain with the same appearance. Dora is a character who is interested a lot in medicine. She wants to become a surgeon or anything that's regarding medicine, and she also has a great tendency towards what can I say, psychology and psychiatry. Actually, I should be changing her pose to this one mainly because she's not she's very happy, she's always cheerful, she's good at seeing people, but she's somewhat just like the protagonist, a living conundrum, that is. Miyumi as a character is highly mechanized, uh, and that's a natural state, that's not a mask. She claims she lacks emotions, and well, she has some emotion, but she kind of does not have. She is only drawn to her own lab and to the military technology she is working with, um, because her father is someone very important, but more on this later on. Saiko Ayano Mo, or Moe actually, is a character that has no reference to any character from Yandere Simulator. She has her own kanji, which her name is written with. Saiko here means most beautiful or something like that, and has no reference to Saiko from Yandere Simulator, which means the best and has different kanji. Ayano in my case is written with 3 kanji. I forgot what the name means. I will post the kanji of the names some other time. And Moe is, well, it's a words play. She as a character is a very grinchy type. She is very dominant. She is the wacky, almost psychotic character of this universe. She is also one of the playable characters. She is the leader of the occult club, and she's also the only one, aside from Yumi, who is allowed to stay at the university all day long. She is highly capable of magics. She can deploy them if she wants, but the player will not be allowed to. That's only part of her fluff. Probably when I start working with her, I will make that as well possible. She's very bossy. She's kind of the living fetish of many male characters. Uh, she's not necessarily cute, but the Moe name is a words play towards the Mo anime type, the anime genre, which you know figures overly cute characters. And in a way, she tends to be a bit cute, but more like well, she's more like almost sexual in her ways. She doesn't want it necessarily, but just like Miyumi, she has this thing that if I want something, I'll get it, no matter how. Miyumi is technologically thinking, she's always mechanized, she's always based on correct assumptions and precision, while Saiko Ayano is more or less a randomer. She simply does things because she wants, and she doesn't care for the repercussions. These 3 characters are the only ones who can kill. Sensu Yamaguchi is a character, the only male character that's playable in here. He is more or less a manipulator. He is part of the occult club along with Ayano, the only 2 characters that are part of that club. The main characters, there will be a few others, but they will not be of any interest. And he will not be able to kill. He will have to orchestrate events in order to gain something, or call on some knowledge on the characters, knowledge that he has. As a personality type, he'll be like an ENTP, which is a personality type in the Myers-Briggs test that's highly drawn to knowledge and to knowing a lot of stuff, and even if they don't want to, they get to know a lot of the things about others and keep them into their mind. I used to be an ENTP INTP hybrid until soon enough when I conducted the test again and ended up being an IFNJ. And the last character is Chidori. She is the most loving and gracious of the characters. She is a pantheist by nature. She will sometimes behave as if she's on mushrooms, but that's because she is so pure of heart. She again will not be able to kill people. Um, and I'm not yet sure what I'll be doing with this character. All these 5 characters are facets of myself. These characters represent me fully, but there are only fragments of me. So what can I say? Hopefully you've liked this introductory part, this introductory video. I will be quitting for now. I will keep working on this map and will upload from time to time different new videos to feature certain stuff. I will probably be uploading the next video when I finish the mapping consistencies regarding this one, as well as the first floor, second floor, third floor and the rooftop of the university. There will be 2 or 3 maps regarding the ground floor, which is one map. The first, second and third floor will be on a different map, probably along with the rooftop, or the rooftop will be a completely different map. As we all know, in RPG Maker, leaving a map resets all the events when you come back. So the point is, I did find a way around this, so I will not worry. Then it means that I'm back to my progress. I've been working on this game for 3 months. Actually, this month on the 13th I've made my 3rd month. And what can I say? I will keep up with it. I doubt I will be finishing the game by the end of the year, because there's a lot of work to do on it. But what can I say? For the moment I've said enough, so I'm wishing you a good day. Have fun!